The first time Ava Bennett heard her dead mother's voice, it came from inside the bedroom wall at exactly 2:14 a.m. She woke suddenly beneath freezing darkness with her heart already racing before she even understood why. Rain tapped softly against the windows of the old house while distant thunder rolled somewhere far beyond the forest outside. Then she heard it again. Ava! Soft, weak, muffled behind the wallpaper beside her bed. Ava froze instantly. For several seconds, she couldn't breathe. Her mother had been dead for almost 8 months. Cancer. Slow, painful final. Ava sat upright slowly while staring toward the wall beside her lamp. Silence followed. The old farmhouse groaned quietly around her as wind rattled branches outside. "Mom!" she whispered, before realizing how insane that sounded. Nothing answered. Ava exhaled shakily and rubbed her face hard. Stress, exhaustion, grief. She had moved back into the farmhouse after the funeral because she couldn't afford rent in the city anymore. The house still smelled faintly like her mother's perfume in certain rooms. Sometimes Ava swore she heard footsteps upstairs when nobody was there. But hearing her actual voice? No, that crossed into something else entirely. Ava forced herself back beneath the blanket. Then came 3 slow knocks from inside the wall. Knock, knock, knock. Ava's blood turned cold instantly. Ava? The voice sounded clearer this time. Weak, desperate, crying. Help me. Ava stumbled backward out of bed so quickly she nearly fell. Her lamp crashed onto the floor beside her while panic surged through her chest. The voice came again, louder now, directly inside the wall. Please don't leave me here. Tears filled Ava's eyes immediately because it sounded exactly like her mother. Same trembling voice, same soft southern accent. Same exhausted sadness she carried during the final weeks before death. Ava backed slowly toward the bedroom door while shaking uncontrollably. This isn't real, she whispered repeatedly to herself. Then the wallpaper beside the bed bulged outward suddenly, like something pressed against it from inside the wall. Ava screamed and ran from the room immediately. She didn't stop until she reached the kitchen downstairs where she sat trembling against the cabinets until sunrise. But even downstairs, she still heard faint knocking echoing through the pipes inside the house. Knock. Knock. Knock Chapter 1, Part 2. By morning, Ava convinced herself she imagined everything. Grief did strange things to people. She barely slept anymore. The isolation of the farmhouse only made it worse. Still, the wall beside her bed looked wrong when she finally returned upstairs. The wallpaper bulged outward slightly exactly where she remembered seeing movement during the night. Ava touched it cautiously. The surface felt strangely soft beneath her fingertips, hollow somehow. Then her phone rang loudly behind her, causing her to jump violently. It was her younger brother Eli checking on her again. "You sound terrible," he said immediately after hearing her voice. Ava hesitated before finally telling him everything. Silence followed for several seconds. Then Eli sighed heavily. "Ava, you need sleep. I know what Mom sounded like." "You're alone in that house surrounded by memories." Ava looked toward the wall uneasily. "Something's wrong here." Eli offered to visit after work, but Ava refused automatically. She hated worrying him. By evening, heavy rain swallowed the farmhouse again, while darkness settled across the woods outside. Ava tried distracting herself with television downstairs until the power suddenly flickered off around 10:43 p.m. The house fell silent except for rain hammering the roof overhead. Perfect, Ava muttered nervously. She grabbed candles from the kitchen drawer and lit them carefully while shadows stretched across the old walls. Then she heard humming, soft humming upstairs. Ava stopped breathing. Her mother used to hum constantly while cooking dinner or folding laundry. Same melody every time. A lullaby their grandmother once sang to them as children. Ava stood frozen in the kitchen while tears filled her eyes again. The humming continued faintly above her, slowly moving across the second-floor hallway. "Mom?" she whispered weakly. Silence followed. Then came footsteps overhead. Slow, dragging footsteps crossing the hallway ceiling directly above her. Ava grabbed the fireplace poker beside the mantel and climbed the stairs cautiously, with candlelight trembling in her hand. The humming stopped the moment she reached the second floor. Her bedroom door stood slightly open. Cold air drifted slowly from inside. Ava pushed the door wider carefully. Nothing there, just darkness. Rain tapping softly against the windows. Then she noticed the wallpaper again. The bulge had grown larger now, almost human-sized. Ava approached slowly while gripping the poker tighter. Suddenly a voice whispered directly behind the wall. "Ava!" Tears streamed down her face instantly. "Please, it hurts in here." Ava pressed trembling fingers against the wallpaper. Something touched her hand from the other side. Human fingers pressing back through the wall. Chapter 1, Part 3. Ellie arrived at the farmhouse 20 minutes later after Ava finally called him, crying hysterically. He found her sitting on the front porch wrapped in blankets despite the freezing rain. "Okay," Eli said carefully while helping her inside. "Show me." Ava led him upstairs immediately. The bulging wallpaper remained there beside the bed. Eli frowned deeply while examining it under flashlight. "There's probably water damage behind the wall." Ava grabbed his arm hard. "Something touched me." Eli clearly didn't believe her, but concern replaced skepticism when he pressed against the wall himself. His expression changed instantly. "That's weird." "What? It's warm." Ava's stomach tightened. The wall should have been freezing cold, especially during rainstorms. Eli knocked against it twice. Hollow, very hollow. "Maybe there's empty space behind it," he muttered. Then came the whisper. "Ellie." Both siblings froze instantly. Eli slowly turned pale. The voice came again. "Help me." Eli backed away from the wall immediately. "Nope." Ava stared at him desperately. "You heard it." Eli didn't answer immediately, because something inside the wall started moving. Slow scratching sounds echoed behind the wallpaper while the bulging shape shifted unnaturally beneath the surface. Then the wallpaper split open slightly near the center. A pale finger pushed slowly through the tear from inside the wall. Ava screamed. Eli grabbed the fireplace poker and slammed it hard against the wall instinctively. The finger vanished instantly. Silence swallowed the room. Both siblings stood frozen, breathing heavily. Then the entire wall knocked back violently from the inside. Bam! The bedroom door slammed shut behind them. Ava nearly collapsed in terror. Eli rushed toward the door, but it refused to open. More knocking erupted from inside the wall now. Faster, louder. "Bam, bam, bam! Let me out!" Their mother's voice screamed from inside the wall. Ava covered her ears, sobbing, while Eli shoved desperately against the bedroom door. Then suddenly, silence. Complete silence. The door creaked open slowly by itself. Eli grabbed Ava immediately. "We're leaving." Neither of them noticed the dark, wet stain slowly spreading across the wallpaper behind them, shaped vaguely like a human face, pressing outward from inside the wall. Chapter 2, Part 1. They spent the night at Eli's apartment in complete silence. Ava barely slept at all. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the pale finger pushing through the wallpaper again. By morning, Eli finally admitted what terrified him most. "That voice," he whispered quietly over coffee. "It really sounded like Mom." Ava stared down into her shaking hands. "I told you." Eli rubbed exhausted eyes. There has to be some explanation. But explanations disappeared the moment Ava checked her voicemail later that afternoon. 3 new messages waited on her phone, all received around 3 a.m. While they had already left the farmhouse. Ava pressed play slowly. Static crackled loudly at first. Then came their mother's voice crying weakly through heavy distortion. "Ava, please come home." Eli went completely pale listening beside her. The second voicemail sounded worse. Heavy scratching noises echoed behind their mother's voice while she whispered desperately, "Something is wearing me." The final message lasted only 6 seconds. Their mother screamed horribly before the line cut dead. Eli immediately grabbed his car keys. "We're calling the police." Sheriff Donnelly arrived at the farmhouse an hour later, clearly expecting a mental health situation rather than anything serious. But his confidence disappeared upstairs inside Ava's bedroom. The wall looked much worse now. The wallpaper bulged outward nearly halfway into the room, while dark liquid seeped slowly beneath the baseboards. "Jesus," Donnelly muttered quietly. He pressed against the wall carefully. Then his face changed instantly. Something moved. Ava's pulse exploded. Donnelly grabbed a utility knife from his belt slowly. "Everyone stand back." Ava's breathing quickened while the sheriff sliced carefully through the swollen wallpaper. Thick black liquid immediately poured down the wall. The smell hit them next. Rotting. Sweet. Horrible. Donnelly peeled the wallpaper backwards slowly. Behind it waited another wall. Not wooden beams, not insulation. A second surface made entirely of packed black dirt. Ava stared in confusion. What the hell? Then something shifted beneath the dirt. Human fingers slowly pushed outward from inside it. Chapter 2, Part 2. Sheriff Donnelly stumbled backward immediately while Ava screamed. The dirt wall moved again. More fingers emerged slow through the surface, clawing desperately toward open air. Human fingers, pale, rotting. Eli grabbed Ava protectively, while Donnelly pulled his gun instinctively, despite having no idea what he was aiming at. Then came the voice again, their mother's voice. Please, the dirt bulged outward violently, as though someone buried alive behind it struggled desperately to escape. Ava sobbed uncontrollably. "Mom!" Donnelly finally regained control enough to grab the fireplace poker nearby. He slammed it hard into the dirt wall. The surface cracked open instantly. A horrifying smell exploded into the room. Black liquid poured through the opening while scratching sounds erupted violently from inside the wall itself. Then Ava saw an eye staring outward through the crack. Human, bloodshot, terrified. Ava, the voice sounded clearer now. Real, alive. Ava rushed forward instinctively, but Eli grabbed her immediately. No, suddenly the entire dirt wall split open from top to bottom. Something inside pushed outward violently. Sheriff Donnelly fired once instinctively into the opening. The scream that answered didn't sound human anymore. The bedroom lights exploded instantly. Darkness swallowed the room. Then movement erupted everywhere. Wet footsteps sprinting across the ceiling, scratching inside every wall simultaneously. Ava felt freezing fingers brush across her face in darkness while dozens of whispering voices surrounded them from all directions. She opened it. Donnelly's flashlight flickered weakly back on. What it revealed nearly stopped Ava's heart. The dirt wall had opened into a narrow tunnel stretching deep beneath the house, and inside that tunnel stood their mother. At least it looked like her. Pale skin stretched tightly across bones, sunken eyes, hair soaked black with dirt and liquid. But her smile looked wrong, too wide, too empty. "Come closer, sweetheart," the thing whispered softly. Eli tightened his grip on Ava instantly. That's not Mom. Chapter 2, Part 3. The creature wearing their mother's face crawled slowly from the tunnel while its bones cracked unnaturally beneath skin. Sheriff Donnelly aimed his flashlight directly toward it. More figures moved behind the creature deeper inside the tunnel. Human shapes buried within darkness beneath the farmhouse. Ava stared in frozen horror while the thing smiled wider. "She's still down here," it whispered softly, using their mother's voice perfectly. "But she's becoming part of the walls." Ava's stomach twisted violently. "What are you?" The creature tilted its head unnaturally sideways. "Hungry." Suddenly, the tunnel behind it erupted with movement. Dozens of pale figures crawled rapidly toward the opening from underground darkness beneath the house. Buried people, thin, starved human forms fused with roots, dirt, and black liquid. Sheriff Donnelly fired repeatedly while screaming for them to run. The creatures shrieked horribly as bullets tore through them, but they kept crawling forward anyway. Eli dragged Ava toward the bedroom door, while black liquid flooded rapidly across the floorboards behind them. The entire farmhouse began groaning violently around them. Walls bulged outward throughout the hallway now. Human faces pressed beneath wallpaper all around the house, whispering desperately. "Help us!" Ava heard her mother crying somewhere deeper inside the walls beneath the whispers. Weak, fading. Ava. Tears blinded her instantly. She turned back toward the bedroom. Eli grabbed her hard. "You can't save her!" But Ava already knew the truth. Whatever lived beneath the farmhouse fed on grief, loneliness, mourning. It mimicked dead voices to lure people into the walls where they slowly became part of the house itself, and their mother was still trapped alive somewhere beneath it. Ava grabbed the sheriff's dropped flashlight and ran back toward the tunnel before Eli could stop her. Ava! She crawled into the dirt tunnel just as the creature lunged toward her, screaming. The underground space beneath the farmhouse stretched far deeper than physically possible. Endless tunnels lined with roots and buried human remains twisted beneath the house like veins. Then Ava heard it clearly. Real crying ahead. "Mom?" A weak hand reached from darkness toward her. Her real mother lay partially buried beneath dirt and roots deeper inside the tunnel system. Alive somehow, barely breathing. Ava grabbed her desperately while the tunnels around them shook violently. The creatures screamed behind her, growing closer rapidly. Then sunlight exploded suddenly overhead. Sheriff Donnelly and Eli had broken through the floorboards above using axes from the garage. Together, they dragged Ava and her mother upward, just as the underground tunnels collapsed inward beneath the farmhouse. The entire house caved slowly into itself, while inhuman screams echoed from beneath the earth. Authorities later searched the property extensively. They discovered dozens of human remains buried beneath the farmhouse dating back nearly 70 years. But they never found tunnels Never found black liquid. Never explained how Ava's mother served buried beneath the walls for 8 months. She never fully recovered mentally afterward. Sometimes late at night, she still whispers terrified things while staring at empty walls. And occasionally, Ava still hears knocking from inside them. Knock, knock, knock. Then a familiar voice softly asks from somewhere deep within the house, "Can I come back inside?"